has, however, split opinion as his critics have accused him of using the TRRC to boost his popularity. Reporting for the Fair Network's News Review, I am Mudi Wangom.
Welcome back. So that is Esafal there speaking, some of the work that he's done for the TRRC. He will run for president. Massive development. And tomorrow, Friday, he's going to officially engage the media on this big move there, big decision. I'm joined by Banka Manneh. He interviewed him. This is a commentator, but the co-host of the For the People by the People show. He interviewed Mr. Esafal there a few months ago, and he was being tight-lipped about this. It has arrived. What is your take?
Well, I mean, come on. This was the biggest open secret in the history of this country. I think it got to a point where most people really knew or felt that Esafal will definitely throw his hat in the ring. On that occasion, it was Musa Jeng who was actually pressing him.
Yes.
And I was the one trying to kind of kick Musa under the table. Saying,
Stop it, yes.
But anyway, even though you could tell he was not willing to kind of break the news, if you will.
Yes.
But the answers really were just, you know, that this guy really was going to do this. So again, I think it's a very exciting time for our politics.
But what does it really mean? Because here is the thing. You have somebody who was working for an investigation, a very national, a very important national investigation. Opinion has been split. Esa should do this, Esa should not do this. Esa came here to boost his popularity. He used the TRRC to boost his popularity. Now he wants to run for president.
No, look, I think that charge is neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. You have to, when you judge people, you judge them based on the facts.
Yes.
Not based on these sort of perception or rumors or innuendos or what have you. Let's look at the facts. That is, Esafal came and did a brilliant job with the TRRC. No one can deny that. Even his detractors cannot really say anything about that one.
Yes.
So let's put that aside. He's run for the presidency no matter what the motivations were. I mean, still, you know, that doesn't, you cannot invalidate his run for the presidency by simply saying because he worked for the TRRC. Now, the fact of the matter is he went to the TRRC, did a brilliant job over there. If we are to judge him on the TRRC,
yes,
let's judge him on the performance, and that performance was brilliant. Now let's move to the presidency. He's running for the presidency. Now let's judge him based on the merits again, not based on these suggestions and suspicions or what have you of what his intent was. If I'm to sit here and tell you his intent, and you sit here and talk about his intent, I think we'll be totally off the mark. The fact of the matter is, these are two separate issues. The guy, yes, he might be riding on the popularity of the TRRC, but that's what people who run for office do. They run on the popularity.
So it's normal.
It is very, very normal. I mean, Obama, his speech at the Democratic Convention, remember?
That was what took him.
That's what catapulted him into it. I mean, come on. That's what.
But what do you make of the timing, though? I mean, they are saying, the reports are saying, that yesterday was when he officially finished or completed work at the TRRC, and Friday he's going to announce. And the TRRC report is yet to be submitted. This will be done September 31st. And people will say, okay, this process has not yet concluded. Here you have ESA.
No, I mean, again, I think the moment people make those kinds of connections, and I think those who do that are trying to somehow invalidate or question or raise doubts or raise issues with his candidacy, which is fine. I mean, if people are going to do that for political reasons, I get it. If those on the other side will do that to say, hey, these guys, after all, it's not genuine.
Yes,
I get that. But what I'm saying is, if we look at it strictly on the facts as independent observers, all we can do is really judge these things based on their individual merits, and the individual merits are others. That the guy came to the TRRC, did a brilliant job. And now he decided, for whatever reason, because he believes he has a vision and a mission to accomplish for the country beyond the TRRC, decided to throw his heart in the ring. Because he realizes this is the best timing, because the popularity is there. It could be a million reasons for that matter. But in the end, let's judge, if we are to judge him, let's look at his presidency, run for the presidency, based on the merits. What are the issues that he is standing for? What is he saying he's going to do for the country? Does he have what it takes? And all those things. That's what we need to look at and judge him based on that. On the TRRC front,
Yes.
well, the job is done. It's over. That's an old chapter in his. As for him, this is an old chapter. He's moving on. He cannot live the TRRC life forever. And so he decides to move on, and now the next big challenge for him is the run for the presidency.
Now, I mean, his decision to run for president, how is that going to look like? Because Gambians can be very conservative when it comes to politics. You have people who are hardcore, for example, UDP supporters. I mean, you have people, in as much as they are impressed by the work that you've done for the TRRC, they may not necessarily be swayed by you joining politics and them supporting you. They would rather stick to a party that they've been supporting for all these years than to support a newcomer. What is your opinion on that?
No, I agree. No, is ESA going to make a lot of traction? That's yet. I mean, that's really yet to be seen. We will have to now look at this and see where it goes and start kind of observing how the trajectory. So, and I totally agree with you. You have core UDP supporters, for instance, who will all of a sudden change their colors because it's SFL in the ring. I don't think so. I don't believe that's going to happen. Do you have core NPP folks who will all of a sudden change their colors because SFL is in the ring? I don't think so. But this time around, you have so many voters out there that, we have almost 1 million voters for the first time. Now, I still believe, barring a coalition, this is Barrow's to lose. But again, as more and more people throw their hats in the ring, the dynamics are going to be shifting and shifting and shifting. So I guess we just need to study these issues as they go and call it for what it is.
And also, it's quite exciting these times. The faces that we are seeing for far too long, what Gambians would complain or what they would say is all the people who are mostly interested in politics are non-entities, people, uneducated people who are not competent enough to be president. Now we have seen that the likes of Dr. Ismail Sise, even the new party, National Unity Party, they've selected somebody who is competent enough, educated. Now you have SFL. I mean, what is your take on that? Now you have people who are educated and are picking up interest in being president of the Gambia.
Well, you see, if you notice, Lamin, since the change in 2016, one of the interesting dynamics that we have witnessed is that we have seen many firsts. When I say firsts, meaning you are beginning to see women having debates.
Yes.
You are beginning to see, even on the main side, having political debates.
Yes.
You are beginning to see new faces jump in the ring. You are beginning to see the caliber or quality of candidates that are getting in the ring. This is all this is a very, very, it probably will turn out to be the most exciting election ever in our political history after 2016, because 2016 was the change that ushered in all these things, and that will make it definitely the most exciting election ever in our history, in my humble opinion. But after the 2016 election, I think this could turn out to be the most interesting election because of the caliber of candidates, because of the vibrancy, and because of even the issues that we're going to be starting to hear more about, and because of really the excitement that this is generating among people. I mean, whether it's on all the sides. I think all the party militants are beginning to look at this and saying, well, this is a do or die. You got to either go there and fight for what you believe, if you actually believe in something, or else somebody is going to grab it from you and run with it. So, you mentioned something that's very, very, very important too, and that is you look at somebody like Ablai Jammeh getting in the ring. Not in my wildest dreams did I ever think a guy like Ablai Jammeh would jump in the ring.
Yes, will join politics.
Absolutely,
yes.
Because but he is doing it, and this is really wonderful for our country. These are the people that folks used to say, oh, they don't want to get into politics, they don't want to do this, the SFL type.
Yes.
Now they are saying, well, guess what? We are going to get in the ring. And, we're going to go pound for pound, blow for blow with the traditional politicians. And then let's see where this takes us.
And now when you look at people like SFL, these are people who are not very much appreciated in camps such as APRC. He led the investigation against their dear leader, their supreme leader. How would, in your opinion, how would they receive this news?
Well, I think the APRC, because APRC SFL has come to be the symbol of the movement to bring Jammeh to justice. And obviously the APRC, the entire APRC political party agenda revolves around Yahya Jammeh, and Yahya Jammeh alone. Don't let nobody fool you. So for them, any assault or attack on Jammeh is really an attack on the very foundation and the very machine, the only game that they have. So, and ESA has to come to symbolize that I would say assault, if you will. So they will be really not be happy about this. Obviously, their campaign will be directed at him, and now the moment he announces his presidency, you will see them fire up their WhatsApp engines and all these other engines with all kinds of allegations and name calling and whatever you can think of. I mean, they will throw everything at him, including the kitchen sink.
And then you have some people who say, before ESA going to stand as an independent candidate, because what much is being rumored is that he wants to stand as an independent candidate. You have some who are saying, why don't you go and join a political party, a party that has been here long enough and it is forced to reckon with? Why don't you just go and join that party?
You know, that would have been a great idea. However, there's a problem here. You see, and I've always argued this point, Lamin, and I strongly believe it, because I believe it's a very legitimate point. And that is this, that because our politics does not revolve around the issues as much as they evolve around personality.
Yes.
Folks, when you want to join a party, you almost feel like you are submitting yourself to an individual. Because the parties tend to take on an individual, and that individual begins to seem like he is the be-all and end-all of the party. Now, anytime you have that, unless you believe in that person or you want to fully commit yourself to that person, then you feel like you want to go and start your own. And I think that unless ideology and issues like that drive our politics, if you look at, and I've always said this, if you look at the United States, for instance, Democratic Party and Republican Party, if a Lamin comes to the United States, there's a pretty good chance I can guess right away what side Lamin is going to be on.
Yes.
Because Democrats are for immigrant issues, because they are for labor issues and Lamin will naturally gravitate towards the Democratic Party. And it doesn't matter who is the Democratic Party leader.
Yes.
Now, in our case, which party do you look at and then see it in that mold? There is none.
There is none.
Because they all revolve around personalities. So if you want to now, if you have some vision or mission to accomplish, you don't know who to associate that with in that regard. So what you do is you naturally will go out there and start your own. And this is why we have a proliferation of political parties, and that's only going to continue until and unless we start to really build these parties around issues and ideologies, so that folks that believe can come and join, and those that don't believe can go and join the causes that they believe. But as it is right now, during the campaign, you will only hear the names of the leaders more than you will hear an ideology or a core value or belief or whatever. Those are the things that drives our politics, I think.
Finally, do you think ESA has any chance of winning the December election? Is what less than 100 days away? It's
too early to say whether he has any chance of winning. I think let ESA first announce his candidacy. Let's look at his campaign, and then we'll judge him on those issues and see whether he really is making any headway as far as support or grassroots support, if you will. Once he does that, then we can look at it and say he has a chance to be among the players to really get this. But for now, I think this election is basically it has a front runner, and you have others that are closely following. And so unless he does something that is going to shift the dynamics in that regard to come and kind of catch up with those who are right in the mix, then we cannot really say that for right now. I don't want to jump the gun and say whether he has a chance or not have a chance. I think we will have to watch this as it goes, and then we will make a call as we go forward.
Banka, thank you very much. Appreciate it as always. Thank you very much. So we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Tough Africa Global presents the new Tulip Gardens. Tough Tulip Gardens is set to comprise service plots in sizes ranging from 220 to 570 meters square. Deposit as low as $83,600 is only an 18-month interest-free payment plan with only 20% deposit on the service plots. Please contact 376-2333 or 776-2333. Tough Africa Global presents the new...
Welcome back. So now I am joined by Mr. Babukar Lum of the Gambia Tourism Board, as the journalist for human rights, has produced 93 stories in the Gambia earlier this year through its project dubbed Mobilizing Media Fighting COVID-19. The JHRE is doing on air, talking to experts really on disinformation and misinformation there. So in that regard, Mr. Lum is here. He's from the Gambia Tourism Board, and he will talk to me about his perspective on, we still have COVID. COVID is still here with us, and we really do not know when COVID is going to go. He will talk to us about his perspective and how it impacts the tourism sector. Mr. Lum, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
First, what do you think, as an expert in the tourism sector? COVID has been here, that sector has been badly affected. What is your opinion?
Yeah, my opinion is that, like you said, the tourism sector is one of the worst hit sectors with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. And if there is anything that we are certain about is that there are a lot of uncertainties surrounding COVID-19. The pandemic is still here. We don't know when it is going to end. And as a sector, the Gambia Tourism Board is currently trying to see how best to revive tourism this coming winter season. The plan has always been there, but like we said, you plan for certain things, but then everything surrounding COVID-19 has a lot of uncertainties. However, we are doing everything that it takes to ensure that the tourism industry is revived in the soonest possible time.
What are you doing exactly?
Among the things that we are doing is to reassure our source markets to boost confidence in the Gambia as a destination. One thing that we know for a fact that for today's traveler, one of the key factors that will determine where they travel is the health and safety aspect in that country. Yes. This includes the number of cases that have been recorded in that country and what the country is doing as a whole to contain COVID-19. So we have done a number of trainings within the industry where we brought all our stakeholders together. And at this point, I must acknowledge the support that we had from the Youth Empowerment Project, the Gambia Red Cross Society, and of course the Ministry of Health. We trained over 400 people within the tourism industry who would serve as ambassadors, if you like. They will go back to the industry and train their counterparts whom they work with. And the idea is to ensure that we adapt to the new normal. Obviously, the hospitality industry has been an industry where hygiene standards have been set very high. The bar has always been high. But with the pandemic, we need to go a little further. So this training was geared towards making the stakeholders understand how to operate, because we developed what we call mandatory guidelines for the operation of tourism in the country. This was done in October last year. So it was part of that guidelines to train our stakeholders to know what they need to do for now. And this guideline is also being reviewed because with COVID-19 there is new information, there is new evidence every day. The guideline is being reviewed, and we are also doing this in consultation with our stakeholders because we don't want to impose on the stakeholders. So we develop the standards, but then at some point we reach a compromise so that it would be applicable, because sometimes some of the things that you want to done for one reason or the other not applicable, but then we try to reach a compromise. That is one thing that we are also doing currently, and hopefully very soon we will take this document to the Ministry of Health, because this is a health issue, and obviously they take the lead on this matter. We are also working very hard to sensitize our stakeholders with regards to the vaccine hesitancy. You will realize that when the first...
in fact, I was going to ask you that the issue of vaccine is very important. Exactly. The tourist season will soon be here. Yeah. And, in order to boost confidence in tourists coming to the country, that is largely dependent upon the issue of vaccination.
And that's why we are cognizant of this fact. And in part of the trainings that we conducted, there was a special module trying to explain how vaccines work, trying to also rectify some of the misinformation and disinformation that is going on social media. During these trainings, that was the time when the first round of the AstraZeneca was in the country. And in a room of 50 people, normally when we ask how many of you have been vaccinated, we see 1 or 2 hands. But by the time we concluded the trainings, when you ask how many of you are willing to get vaccinated, you see almost 40 to 50 hands will go up. We realized that the issue of vaccine hesitancy has to do a lot with misinformation and disinformation. And we were working towards providing the right information. And if you look at the GT board, our Facebook page and other social media handles, you will see that our communication team is doing a lot of videos, a lot of posts trying to educate people with regards to why the vaccine is important. Because like we said, tourists are wary of the fact that they want to be served by people who are vaccinated. So to help with that regard in vaccine confidence, we want, or traveler confidence, we want as many people as possible to get vaccinated. Because frankly, as a country, whether it's the tourism industry or any other industry as a whole to go back on its feet, we need to have very high vaccination coverage. And we are doing our part, and then we hope that we'll be complementing other sectors who are also doing, like the Ministry of Health, the Gambia Red Cross Society. Everybody else has a part. But we in the tourism industry are taking vaccination very seriously, and we are encouraging all our stakeholders to get vaccinated as soon as possible.
Now, in terms of, let's get into the statistics, in terms of, because like I said earlier, it's one of the sectors that has been badly affected. In terms of statistics, data, can you tell us how many people, for example, who work in the tourism sector that the pandemic has affected?
Well, I think that one is very simple. I think 100% of all the people working in the tourism industry are in one way or the other affected. In terms of economic wise, it's difficult to have an estimate. But in early 2020, when the GT board and the Gambia Statistics Bureau commissioned a survey on the impact of COVID-19, and its financial, impacts are in hundreds of millions of dollars. At this point in time, it's going to be difficult to put a number on the economic loss. Yes. But we know for certain that figure that was projected in October 2020 or thereabout, if it has not risen up, it has not come down. And you also look at the social impacts also, because COVID-19 has a lot of dimensions. Because the people who are working in the industry are in one way or the other responsible for other people. That's how the Gambian society works. If one person in the family is working, he's taking care of 2, 3, or 4 more other people in the family. So you see that it has a ripple effect. And that survey likely looked at what we call the formal sector. That's the hotels, the restaurants, and all the others that are formal. But if you look at the informal sector, there it is even much more difficult to quantify the number of people working in that sector. And it is even much more difficult to quantify the economic loss for that particular sector. Yes. So honestly, it's going to be difficult to put a number on the number of people who have been affected. But we can tell for certain that almost everybody that works in the industry is affected in one way or the other.
Do you have a message to send across to people who may not believe COVID, who think that COVID is not real?
For the people who think that COVID-19 is not real, I can tell you myself, I am a survivor of COVID-19. In August 2020, I did not spend Tobaski with my family because at the time I was infected and in isolation. If you doubt that COVID-19 is still in the country, I know Mr. Balde is waiting outside. He is in a better position to tell you the numbers of people who are infected. But for my final message is that for those people who are still considering whether to take the vaccine or not to take the vaccine, my advice is to take the vaccine. They have been proven to be safe and effective. And as a country, we need to boost our vaccine coverage so that we can go back to the normal Gambia that we used to. the smiling coast that it used to be. It's still the smiling coast, but obviously when people are walking around with masks, it's hard to know who is smiling and who is not. That hospitality aspect of the Gambia is been gradually lost. So let's get back to to normal, and then let's all go back to the Gambia that we used to know.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lum, for being on my show. I appreciate it. Mr. Babukar Lum from the Gambia Tourism Board. Thank you very much. So we'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
Tulip Gardens. Taft Tulip Gardens is set to comprise service plots in sizes ranging from 220 to 570 meters square. Deposit as low as $83,600 is only an 18-month interest-free payment plan with only 20% deposit on the service plots. Please contact 376-2333 or 776-2333. Taft Africa Global presents the new Tulip Gardens. Taft Tulip Gardens is set to comprise service plots in sizes ranging from 220 to 570 meters square. Deposit as low as $83,600 is only an 18-month interest-free payment plan with only 20% deposit on the service plots. Please contact 376-2333 or 776-2333. Free.
Thank you very much and welcome back. So I'm now joined by Mr. Balde of the Gando Balde, Jibril Gando Balde. I hope I got your name.
Fuller, you must call his two names. Jibril Gando Balde,
Jibril
correct?
Gando Balde from the Minister of Health there. He's here to talk to me about fake news, disinformation, misinformation, malinformation, however you want to call it, really, around COVID-19. This disease has been here, I mean, now more than 2 years now. You have a lot of people who do not believe this. He's here to talk to me on this issue there regarding the complications, really, that the health complications of COVID to the people of the Gambia there. This is part of JHR's project. They've produced 93 stories there in the Gambia this year through its project dubbed Mobilizing Media Fighting COVID-19. Thank you, Mr. Balde, for joining me.
Thank you. You're welcome, Mr. Njaya.
Yes, so COVID is a disease, and it's real. You have a lot of people who do not believe it and go about spreading false information about it. At the level of the health ministry, what are you doing to end this?
Thank you very much. And that was a very important question, because misinformation is going along with the pandemic, and we even call it infodemic, whereby as the virus spreads, false news is also spreading. And that is not new, but it has been magnified due to this coronavirus pandemic. So what the Minister of Health is doing as far as addressing misinformation is concerned is we have a very robust risk communication and community engagement committee that has been set since the inception, even before the advent of the virus into this country. That team started doing their work. So we started even before the misinformers. So that we are still ongoing, going to radios, going to TVs, making sure social media platforms. Now Minister of Health have revolutionized institutions using social media platforms as a tool of communication. And we have seen a great benefit with the Minister of Health page that is even on Facebook, where now, since at the end of the COVID, many people just need to click on their phones or on their tablets or with their computers and get information. And in risk communication, what we did with the pandemic is to make sure that we come out every day to give people actual, factual, and truthful data. Because if you are giving people every day the number of cases, the number of deaths, people that are hospitalized, people that have been quarantined and everything, and since the inception, you have seen something that you have never saw with the Ministry of Health with regards to sharing information.
Yes.
We have never seen the magnitude of sharing information that the Ministry of Health have started with the advent of this pandemic before. We have never seen it. Both on social media, on radios, on TVs, we are everywhere. Because this is risk communication, this is why the communication unit of the Ministry of Health has been transformed to a risk communication unit, in the sense that now we should not be just reporting things that are of immediate or problems that are within the society, but we should be there every day updating the public, because that is what will bring trust between you and the general public. Because when we just say from January to March, we just want to report the number of cases for those 3 months in one announcement, it will be confusing. But if every day we have a case, we come out to tell you that, Mr. Njai, today we have 90 cases and 10 deaths, you can note it down. And even if you don't note it down, it will be in records, because we send these things in records. So you will be able, at a point, to even sit and accumulate all the data we have released and see whether we are consistent or not.
Now, the issue of people not believing a disease exists, why do that happen?
There are multiple factors to that. Most of the cases, the people that are denying out of ignorance, because awareness is a problem and it's a big challenge as far as health communication is concerned. And that's why we are always out there to make sure that we give the people the required information that is needed, because in this time we are in an emergency, international emergency for that matter. Everybody needs a specific information to stay alive, to be alive in this pandemic. Because before, we didn't know about physical distancing was necessary, and we were doing it and the virus was spreading. But after we were told, we started to adjust. Even on TV sets, you have seen all over the globe. TV sets now, they don't sit close to each other. And all those things might be even staying for the future. Because of the COVID pandemic, we learn about those things and we are adjust to those things. And we have learned about face masking. Before, there was never in history where people were required to put on face masks on TV, for that matter. But that last time that happened was 100 years ago, 1918 pandemic. And then it came about again. So you can see there are many things that have changed, and they are changed for good. So people just have to know that as far as their lives are concerned, there is only one thing that is permanent, which is change. Whether you like it or not, time will not wait for you. It is just moving on. And it is time that we witness this pandemic, because our fathers, our grandfathers, some of them never witnessed the 1918 pandemic, because that was 102 years ago, the last pandemic that happened. So that's why people have to know that times and history sometimes repeat itself, because we have seen in the past that when that pandemic happened, there is still evidence to show that pandemic it happened, and more than 500 million people lost their life, almost 500 million people. And here we are with the COVID-19. Almost how many people have lost their life is in the millions now, not in the hundreds of thousands. So we have seen that cases also are in the hundreds of millions now. We are talking about 200 million cases. So this is not a joke. And we have seen people who are dying actually of this. And when we report now number of deaths since 2-3 months ago, whenever the Minister of Health announced number of deaths, it will tell you how many people died in our custody, under our care, and this is alarming. Even yesterday, the situational report, it sent an alarm.
10 people
10
died.
dead. And we wrote it, that 10 dead is alarming. So people should reflect and know that this is something that is real. People are out there, and we said it in our report. In this last situational report, we said 27 people are still on oxygen. So those people, whether they will make it or not, only God knows. And our people are there sacrificing their life, their time, and their energy and everything with the resources of the Ministry of Health, just to make sure those people are maintained. They don't lose their life like the others. Because 10 deaths in only 3 days, that means every day we are losing 3. And out of those 10 deaths of this latest report, 8 of them were within our treatment facility. They didn't die from somewhere. to be brought and tested there. No, they were tested positive, and then they were also brought in, admitted with us.
So this
Some
is what
stayed
happened.
with us for some days, some weeks. They are with us till they lost their last breath.
Now, when someone contracts COVID, what happens to the person as an expert, as a minister of health expert?
When somebody contracts COVID, the chances that the person might not develop symptoms. So people should understand this. It's not every COVID-infected person develops symptoms. Because when you look at the Gambia in total, we have about 9,500 people who were infected from the beginning of March 17, 2020 up till now. We have 9,500 infected people. But out of that, 9,100 people are already recovered. So 80% of those recovered without no treatment, no medication, just naturally like that, and after 10 days they were tested and it was negative. So that shows that the body have its own antibodies or
to fight disease.
Yes, immune system that fight disease without taking anything. So, but there is a percentage of people, that 20%, which will show symptoms. And out of these people, some will show different symptoms because the symptoms varies. We have fever, some will have coughing, and some will have difficulty breathing. And the people who have difficulty breathing, these are the people who show severe signs of COVID. Because when you have difficulty breathing, it means that your lungs are inflamed by the virus. And it's just like when you knock this table, you will have some swollen cells on your hand. And that will pain you for some time. So that means that there is some inflammation going under that cell. So that also happens in the lungs. And when that happens, and the lung tissues are very soft. If a hand you can feel from a knock on a door or something hard, you can feel that pain of inflammation. What of in the lungs? And these are the organs of the body that you use to draw oxygen and supply the blood with that oxygen so that the body can function, because the body cells without oxygen, it dies. So this organ, the lungs, when it is highly infected, it is inflamed, and then that causes pneumonia. So that's why 90% of the cases now that are dying is due to COVID-19 related pneumonia. And this is the cause of the many deaths that we are seeing, because when you have that severe pneumonia, breathing will be difficult. The only people that can help you are trained medical personnel who can help you to at least give you air through oxygen with the ventilators or with machines that can supply you oxygen that your body needs up to a point that the inflammation, around the lungs, also is treated along the line. You understand? So there is a complex treatment that will go on here, because they will try to control the inflammation, and the oxygen also, you need that to survive. It cannot wait, so you will be also put on oxygen. That's why we are reporting every day the number of people now that are on our oxygen.
Now, when someone contracts COVID, what are the implications for the larger general public?
Yes, when somebody contracts COVID, there is risk of spreading it. So that is a threat to the general public, and that's why we are telling people to avoid crowded areas. That's why we are telling people to stop handshaking. That's why we are telling people to wear masks when in crowded areas. And that's why we are also telling people to also take the opportunity and take their vaccine, because this is what we were all waiting for, the point where there will be vaccination. And here, thank God that we have vaccines now in country. So we should embrace it and take it as much as possible, because it's the only means that you can prevent yourself from within your body. All these other means of prevention is from within the environment, preventing from catching the virus. Hand washing, face masking, distancing, and all that, you are avoiding to take in the virus. But the vaccine is the only preventive mean that will be injected in your body, and your defense will be from inside the body to fight the virus. Because what vaccines do is very important. What vaccines do is they will train your own immune system, your soldiers, how to fight that particular disease that they are made for. And the COVID vaccine is made to fight coronavirus. So obviously, when you take the vaccine, it will train your soldiers, your immune system, how to defend that particular disease. When it can prevent you from not having the disease, but it doesn't mean also you will never have the disease when you take the vaccine.
You can have the vaccine, but
you
it
can
will
have
still
the vaccine.
The disease, but it will still help you to fight the
disease, because your antibodies, your immune system have already the knowledge how to defend itself from that particular.
Now let me ask you also
disease.
this because this is something that I've been meaning to ask health experts. When you take the vaccine, how long, in terms of
the immunity, how long?
How long?
Okay, when you take the vaccine, it depends on the vaccine you take. Some vaccines.
I took J&J.
You take the J&J vaccine. So in that case, they are saying you will have 67 to 75% of protection. So
but how long can it last in my body?
It can last a lifetime, because vaccines a lifetime.
Yes.
It can last a lifetime. Vaccines last some 10 years, some a lifetime, because it will be in your system already.
Okay.
But it depends also on the virus. When there is need, the virus have changed, and we have learned that the virus have changed many times. So it can change, mutate up to a point that maybe they need to, reboost your immunity. You understand? Because the virus have changed so much so that this vaccine cannot take care of it fully now. They have to make a reboost of the vaccine. That might necessitate you to have another vaccine. Yes. But if this vaccine that you take have the immunity to protect you, then it means you can be immune from the virus for life. It depends also, because it doesn't mean the virus have just trained your immune system to be able to defend itself from the virus, or if it is infected, to fight against the virus. So the vaccine is doing 3 jobs. It can prevent you from not having the virus because you are vaccinated. It cannot be that easy for somebody to transfer you the virus. It must be somebody who is highly infected and he is not vaccinated, you understand, and that you are so close to that person that you understand, just like husband and wife, or very close party, tied together. So those chances, there might be chance that you have it. But the vaccine will help you to prevent catching the virus. If not, it will help you to fight the virus. It will prevent you from hospitalization, because this is the main target of the vaccine, to prevent hospitalization and prevent death. This is the main target of the vaccine. Yes, because it is not targeted to make sure that you will not have it automatically.
Okay.
But it is targeted to make sure that it prevents you from the hospital ventilation. And that's why we are saying, try to get vaccinated rather than to be ventilated. That is very important. Don't wait up to the point where you cannot have oxygen on your own, because your lungs are tired and weak and inflamed. And it will be very painful if you want to breathe in that condition. You understand? Just like I explained, the hand hitting the hard, metal or something. So that pain, if you want to work with that hand, can you bear that pain? To still continue using that hand?
It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's difficult.
So that's what you feel in your lungs when you have COVID highly infected in your lungs and you want to breathe with no help.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Gando Balde there. I mean, really, really great insight there. Thank you very much for coming on my show. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for
having me. So that is Jibril Gando Balde of the Minister of Health speaking to me there. That will bring us to the end of the show today. We'll be back next week. Until then, goodbye.